Welcome back to my Glock 42 testing, where I'm putting the new Glock 42 380 ACP through its paces. And today, we've done some comparison tests with the Taurus TCP, but today, we do a few comparison tests against 9mm pistols. Why? Because my Sig 938 here is pretty much exactly the same size as the Glock 42. And this Car PM9 is pretty much identical size as the Glock 42. So the question is, if you're willing to carry a pistol that's a little bit bigger than TCP, so you're going to go for, the G42 here, why not just step over to a full-fledged 9mm? What are you giving up in ballistic performance between the 380 and the 9mm? So we're going to test with Hornady Critical Defense, which was a pretty terrible performer in the Taurus TCP, but is a fantastic performer in the 9mm. So I'm using the 9mm as my benchmark because they are the same size, and I want to see how close the Glock 42 can come with Critical Defense. So let's head out to the range. In this block, we can see that one of the bullets was affected a little bit by bounce back. You can actually see where the bullet had penetrated forward, and as it got kicked backwards by the rubbery nature of the gel, the polymer tip stayed put. So it's not fair to judge it where it ended up. We need to judge it as far as it traveled. And to get there, we're going to use the Charles Schwartz quantitative ammunition selection mathematical formula to put the bullet where it actually belongs. Once we do that, we can see that, there's a pretty big difference. The 9mm penetrated to 12 inches, each of them, whereas the 380 version of the Critical Defense from the Glock 42 penetrated to 9 inches and 9 1/4. So you're getting almost 3 inches more penetration out of the 9mm. That's substantial. That's a significant difference. When we look at the recovered bullets, first of all, as happens with Critical Defense, we shed a few pellets from the 9mm. You can see that there's a noticeable difference in size. We're getting about 20% more surface area off of the 9mm as we are off of the 380 Critical Defenses. So you're getting 20% more tissue destroyed as it travels. It's destroying 20% more tissue, and it's traveling 30% further. So in all possible ways, this is a much more effective wounder than this is. These came up very, very short in the penetration. We like to see a bare minimum of 12 inches. The 9mm hit that level. They performed great. This would be a very nice, effective defensive round, but way, way short from the Critical Defense from the Glock 42. Now, to put that in perspective, these are Hornady XTP rounds. They were from the Precision 1 ammo test that I did in part 1 of this series, and they penetrated 12 inches, just like these. So it's not that you can't get the penetration. You can. You just need to have a smaller bullet to get there. So when we look at these side by side, that's really what you're looking at. You can get comparable penetration, but you're going to do a lot more tissue damage with this than you will with this. Okay, we got our answers on the Glock 42, and the answer is duh. Of course the 9mm is a lot better. We didn't need to run a test to know that, but the question was how much better. Critical Defense is a great performer out of a 3-inch barrel. In the 380, it's always been pretty mediocre to worse performer. I think in my original review I called it Critical Dud Fence because it only penetrated 7 3/4 to 8 and some odd inches from the TCP. The good news is we picked up about an inch of penetration on the Glock 42. The bad news is that still means it's only about 9 inches of penetration. That's just nowhere near where you want it to be. You want at least 12, ideally 14 to 15 inches. So My recommendation is, if you're going to go with Glock 42, you can get that kind of performance if you use the right ammo. See my prior test of the Precision 1, or I would guess Hornady Custom or any other XTP round will probably deliver that kind of performance from the Glock 42. You'll get a slightly smaller bullet as compared to the 9, but you will get the penetration you need. So it is capable of being a solid performing defensive weapon, but it's never going to be in the same league as a 9mm because the cartridge is much more powerful, and well, we knew that coming in. So use the right type of ammo and you'll get the best performance that the little pistol can deliver. And thanks for watching, and please hit subscribe and you'll be notified when new tests are posted.